And now,
introducing the one, the only.
Let me introduce to you
lively talk with successful people, barely filtered. This is the Jenna Ben Show.
So much for tuning into the Jenna Ben Show, guys. I'm your host, Jenna Benamy, and with us today, UFC fighter ranked number 14 in the middleweight division, Marvin Vettori. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Jenna, for having me.
I'm glad to have you on. Looking at your stats here, you got a record of 15-4. You've won a Performance of the Night award for your most recent win. I can't wait to get into all of it. But first, just tell me how your day's going. How's quarantine COVID living going?
It's been too long, man, because I've been hearing from this COVID for too long, because I was in America, but it started like one of the first countries to be hit was Italy, and I'm Italian, so I started to hear news about this like since January, basically. Then so many stuff happened, because I was supposed to fight in London in March, and then I flew there, and then my fight got canceled. I had to fly back. Then they rescheduled me a fight, and that didn't happen. Then they finally gave me a fight. I went there, and I made weight, and the day off, my opponent pulls out. And then they rescheduled me to fight a month after, and then finally I fought. So basically, those are just some of the things because of that I had to go through because of COVID. So I'm over it, man. But the good thing is that I always train somehow. You know, I felt like I had to be ready for fights.
You have really been through it. I mean, some fighters haven't been affected as much, but you you keep getting hits, but that doesn't stop you from accepting fights and training. And hopefully you stay ready so your fight camps aren't so painful. Because I don't know that people really realize how much fighters put into their camp, you know? So to the last minute find out that you're not going to actually be able to fight is probably devastating. That means you don't get paid. It means, you have to start all over again.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. That's why I went off on the guy when I saw him, and there was that situation in the lobby. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely like I feel like, I mean, every sport at the highest level, it's really intense. But fighting, I think is the most intense. If I have, like, some people might not agree with me, but I think so. It's the level of intensity, the level of commitment that you got to take on a camp, like the weight cuts, the things that you have to go through, and the preparation. And we're in a sport where, in any sport, injuries is a big part of it. But we everything there's not a part in our body that is not involved in our sport. So
yeah.
You have to kind of manage the balance between obviously going hard, because you cannot skip that, and you need hard training, and there's no way to skip that. You can try to be as smart as you can, and of course you will, but you still have to really go hard. But at the same time, you have to try to come out of every training session tired, but better than how you came in. Otherwise, you're not really, making progress.
I have a lot of respect for you guys. You work very hard every day. I want to jump right in. So here on the Jenna Ben Show, I basically talk to my guests about their professional stories. I mean, you are one of the few most elite fighters in the world. And I want to just kind of get to know the man behind the fighter, how you got to be in this position today. And then I'll get your opinions on some industry stuff, some insider information. So let's see, you're 27 years old now, but take us way back to when you were a kid growing up in Italy. What were you like?
Yeah, I mean, I was always, so I come from a village in Italy. I come from a place where just few people probably even knew back then what MMA was. Just literally, like, I think 95% of it, probably more, like they didn't even know what it was. Like, if I mentioned, I don't know, what was the biggest name like 10 years ago, I guess Anderson Silva or like GSP, like they would have, like, no way they would have known who these guys were. So I come from this village in Italy, a town, I would say, like 5,000 people. Mezzo Corona is the name of my place. It's a quiet town, you know. It's we don't really miss out on anything, you know. It's nice weather, nice fresh air, beautiful places.
What's considered a good job in that town?
It's really well connected with everything. Like,
Okay.
in 2 hours and a half driving, I can be in Milan if I really want to. Like in an hour and 15 minutes, I can be in Verona, like big cities, you know.
Nice.
But it's obviously still a town. So, but you know, like people. I mean, we have a lot of like farmers. Obviously, like a lot of people do wine over there. We have one of the biggest winery in I think it's probably biggest or second biggest in Europe, I think. So I mean, farmers is definitely like a very common job, and I mean we have bankers, we have all kind of works, but definitely for sport and a lot of other things, there's less opportunity than, you know, if I would have to grow up in somewhere like Milan or like Rome or like
Yeah.
bigger cities.
You could have been a
But-
model.
Well, yeah, I don't think so, but if you say so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but in general, Italy, it's coming up now. But back then, it definitely wasn't the you know, if I would have wanted to play soccer, I probably would have been in the right place. But
Mm-hmm.
MMA,
Okay, but so what were you like though? What was your personality? Were you shy? Were you outgoing?
no, I was really outgoing, and I was really like kind of crazy also, like not in a bad way, but just like hyperactive, like hyperactive. And most of everything I was super competitive. In fact, I didn't have that many friends because I was just competitive about everything. They could not say anything that I wasn't making a competition out of it, you know.
Yeah.
So that was the main thing, and I always did sport. And overall, like hyperactive, like a little bit of a troublemaker for sure. And I've always loved like contact sports, you know, even like by joking around whenever we had to play rugby or some stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. I grew up playing a little bit of soccer until I was like maybe 11, 12, because it's basically everybody do that. In Italy, basically, it's like the main sport people go to do.
So you started with kickboxing at around 13, and then you saw Fedor and you were like, holy moly, what is MMA? I got to get my hands on this. And that's just, is that how you got into it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, well, I was a little like I said, yeah, like you said, I was always kind of into martial arts a little bit. Growing up, I did like my father brought me. But like I said, I always loved physical sports. Like, you know, like whenever I was getting into some kind of scuffles and stuff, I was always coming out on top, and I was always like roughing up these other little guys, you know, like. But I was little too. It's not that I was bigger than anything, but so like, you know, like I don't know. I always loved it, and then I started watching like Fedor, Wanderlei Silva, Shogun, but I was into Fedor a lot back then. And I just remember watching all these documentaries too, all these videos, obviously. And I was like, wow, like they really like fascinated me. It's like, how can they all take so much punishment and just like go in and just be so relentless? And then I kind of looked around and I couldn't find any MMA gym. So I started with kickboxing. Then I did that for a while. Then I started doing MMA, then realized MMA, like people really didn't know how to teach MMA back then. It's like, even now it's really hard still to, like, you have a coach that overall looks at everything, but you still have to go to different places. And much back then in Italy. So I was like, I realized, oh yeah, I need to go and do other stuff. So I started to do like Greco-Roman, because back where I were, it was harder to find freestyle. So I started doing Greco-Roman, Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu I started actually early there because there was a Jiu-Jitsu gym. So for a while I was doing kickboxing, Jiu-Jitsu. Then I realized I needed to get into also wrestling. So I started doing Greco-Roman. Then I did boxing for a while. Then I was competing on everything. I was trying to do as many things as I could just to just to get as much knowledge as I could.
Yeah.
My life was basically go to school, leave around 4 p.m. and come back at 11. And what I was doing sometimes, I was like leaving my town, going to another city like 35, 40 minutes away, do a training there, come back to another city, do another training, and then come back all the way and be back by 11 basically. And did that for basically I was going to the train most of the time actually until my last year when I got a car, because in Italy you can't drive up until 18. So until my last year I was going with the train basically. So going, training, get into another train, back halfway, do another training, then come back all the way.
What promotions did you fight for before you got to the UFC?
Well, I actually fought into a promotion that was Italian. They made up this new promotion. They got some American fighters back for, like, they wanted to do things big in the beginning, and I was actually lucky because the biggest cards I was in all the time. They did this tournament, and they even got Jason May and Miller in one of the cards. They were trying to do things big. Actually, they got Rusimal Polaris. They got some other like Jack Hermanson was in the card in a couple of cards.
He was on the show.
Okay, yes, he was there too. We fought in the same card actually a couple times. Rusimal Polaris. So they tried to do things big for a couple times, and I was actually in the tournament earlier. So my last 5 fights before the UFC were in that promotion. I went through a whole tournament, and I was a welterweight back then. And I did the welterweight tournament. I won the welterweight tournament. I was already like, and after that, and it was cool because they did a whole bunch of how do you call it? They recorded, and then they actually went in on TV back home.
Nice.
So
yeah. So you were famous back there.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay, so then how did you get your UFC contract?
Well, then I beat Jack Mason, and then I beat another guy that was 2-2 in the UFC. He just came out. His name was Igor Araujo, and he came out. He was a black belt. Like I said, he was 2-2 in the UFC. Then they released him, and right after we fought, and I choked him in the first round in 2 minutes, and then the UFC, we got in contact with the UFC, and they're like, yeah, I mean, let's sign the guy. And
wow, pretty damn easy for you. And that was 4 years ago.
Well, now that now that we're talking about it, was easy, but yeah, I've been in the UFC for like 4 years or 5 years almost. Yeah.
I mean, you're 27. To be in the UFC by the time you're 22 or 23 is a dream. You know, it doesn't happen for people like that.
No, but like I never really slacked anything. Like I was always like, since I started, I was really, really serious. Like I don't remember missing any training, like twice a day, every single day. And then I moved to London, and in London was even harder because those 2 years in London, I always, like, they really made me. They could have broke me or made me. And I always remember those 2 years as the hardest of my life, to be honest, because I moved there and I didn't know anybody. I barely knew English. And I just started to train along the shoot fighter for 2 years. And that's when I went pro, really. I had a few fights there, and then I moved back to Italy for a little bit, went through that tournament, won the tournament, and then started going back and forth from America. So, I mean, yes, I was young, but since I was basically 16, all I wanted to do was to go in the UFC. So
amazing.
It was a good like 5-6 years of work. Like so, yeah.
And how did you react when you got your UFC contract?
Yeah, it's crazy because I was back home, and I woke up real early because I got a message from my old manager, and he told me, "Oh, you got signed," and I'm like, and I just like freaked out and started like screaming. So, My brother and my mom woke up, and I'm like, and I was like, yeah, I'm signed to the UFC. But then it was great, but it wasn't awesome because they told me, okay, you go sign, but you cannot tell anybody until you have a fight.
Yeah.
So it was hell because, like, I knew, but it almost like took me like a month plus until I could say to people. So yeah, like, oh, what, you know, like people ask you, how's it going? You cannot tell them. And plus, I didn't know the game, like, you know, until you're not, like, yeah, I signed a contract, but I, you know, like, I was like, what if they make up their mind? Until my first fight, until I walked into the cage, for me, it wasn't real.
I know exactly what you mean, because something could always happen. You know,
Yeah.
like a contract is a contract, but it's not 100%, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay. So then your family flipped
In
out.
fact, for like, it was all, and then, so for a long time, I couldn't say it for like a month and a half. I couldn't say it, and then it had to happen. Everything happened so fast because
Yeah.
we needed a visa. Plus, I was over the moon because I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna debut in some little cards in Europe, but actually, I debuted in UFC 202 in Vegas. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, I just lost my mind. And then, so I wasn't really believing it until it happened. And so I
So
kept,
Vegas is like a thing, right? Like I talked to Nico Price was on my show last week, and his first fight was in Vegas, and he was like very excited about that. And I didn't stop to ask him what is so special about Vegas as opposed to fighting somewhere else.
well, now it's just like, now I think about Vegas. Okay, I'm like, yeah, okay, I know Vegas. But back then, like Las Vegas, like, to me, Las Vegas it's almost like a dream. Like, even like Las Vegas in general, like
Yeah.
Las Vegas is very far from whatever I was thinking of. Like, plus obviously is like a fighting mecca because so many fights happen in Vegas.
Yeah.
But for me, like, yeah, of course I've been to London, but London is still like, I've been to California, yes, but I don't know. Vegas was very far from everything that I really ever imagined in a sense.
Yeah.
So, and Vegas, the first time you go there, it's just overwhelming because the way Vegas is done, it's
a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
But even just the buildings,
Yeah.
now I'm really used to it. But it's funny, and I love it in a sense when I go there with people that just been there maybe once or twice or even never, and they have all these reactions because, like, it is amazing in the way it's built.
Do you have plans to go back there soon, or just for your fight?
I plan to go back after my fight if for Christmas, if everything goes by plan and I can fight and.
But your fight is in Vegas, right? On December 12th?
Oh, in Vegas. I thought back in Italy. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be Vegas. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're coming off a 3-fight win streak. Let's see. And your fight is December 12th against Omari Akhmedov. And by that time, it'll be almost 3 years to the day, almost, since you fought him previously.
Yeah.
Which resulted in a draw. So, like, what kind of feelings are you having about this fight?
I like it a lot because I want to show how different I am now compared to what I was back then. And I really want to show the improvement. And I know it's a solid opponent. Plus, I like the fact that being solid, I know he's not going to do stupid stuff or where, like, he might be pulling out. Like, I mean, everything can happen, but it makes a lot of difference to have like guys that are flaky, like for some stupid shit. They're just like, like they make up excuses or like they miss weight. I know he's a good professional. He's been doing it for a long time, and I'm if anything like very, very big happens, he's gonna show up, and that I love because I've been through enough.
You've been through enough.
So,
I mean,
but that I love because I know it's gonna show up. Plus, I know like I really want to show the improvement. I feel like like Marvin Vettori of 3 years ago against me now wouldn't last. I don't think we will last half round. So.
and you want to show that improvement because you're trying to rise the ranks, right? You're really going after the belt.
Yes, and plus, exactly, it makes sense in terms of rankings. I feel like I'll break into top 10 if I beat in very, how do you call it, in a very solid way, and I want to really finish this fight too. And plus, I really feel like with him, that fight was one of the fights where I really underperformed. And I went in not 100%, not to make excuses, but I had some broken bones. But it's not even that. Just the approach that I got with that fight is not the approach that I should have and so I really want to run it back and make it fair and square that I'm the way better fighter between us, you know, and then absolutely makes sense in terms of rankings, and it's gonna let me progress and towards my goal, which is the UFC belt.
Okay, I love it. So your last fight, Robertson missed weight by 4.5 pounds. I mean, it was all over the media. This isn't his first time missing weight. So as a result of that, so you kind of raked in the money that fight, right? Because not only did you win, you got a performance of the night, but then he had to forfeit 30% of his purse. Did that go to you?
Yeah.
Amazing. So the commission didn't take any of the 30%.
No, it's. I mean, why would the commission take it? It's an advantage towards me, not towards the commission. That but no, yeah, for sure. But the word like the it would have been much better if I could have taken the 30% of his like show up and win bonus, but it's just the show up money. But it's still something, yeah. It was good.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, because he missed weight even when he pulled out. The month before he pulled, so
Yeah.
a month before he missed weight by 1.5 pounds. The second time he missed weight, I was ready to take his money back then too, but then he didn't fight. This time he missed by 4 pounds. 4 pounds is a good amount of weight to
It's a lot.
miss weight. And so yeah, I got his 30% of his show money.
Now you are what I call a funny trash talker. Now I look at your Instagram page and I see these memes. I see Israel Adesanya with 3 boobs. You know, I seen you dragging along a cart with like 5 different fighters in it. I mean, you're funny. Listen, I'm like the Photoshop queen if you look at my page, but I really, you know, you have some funny stuff on there. Do you have an actual?
Have you seen the one where I call out Chris Weidman with
the hair?
No, yeah, no. But another one. It's I call him out with hey Chris, like with the stand like with the stand lyrics, and I go like, hey Chris, I wrote you a letter, but you ain't.
Yes, I did see that. I did. Where is that? Okay. Now, I ask fighters this, and I'm curious now. Like, trash talking sells tickets. So is this like a fighter persona thing, or do you have actual beef with Adesanya, for example, or are you just like doing the thing and you're like, let's go because you're a competitive person and part of being competitive is trash talking?
Well, it depends. It really depends on the case. So it can be for a lot of reasons. Like I always did it in a sense. Like even my early fights where there were almost no media. I've done it, like, cause it's just the way it is. Like, we're gonna fight. We're like, to me, it's real. Like, it's not just business. It is business, but it's real. You're like, after it's okay, we can do whatever. But before, you know, like, actually back then I was really like too crazy. Like even after I didn't want to have no. But like now I'm a little bit more cooler after it's over, you know. But before there is this tension that I don't want to. I don't want to be friendly. Why? It just don't make no sense. I like I like the real shit. Like let's fucking do it. I'm gonna try to take your head off. You're gonna try to take my head off. It's a fight to death to me, because I'm ready. When I step in there, I'm ready to give everything. And if I don't come out from there, I'm probably gonna have a good death on my perspective, because I'm gonna be dying doing what I love. But I know a lot of people don't see it that way. They think I'm extreme and this and that. But that's my own way of seeing it. But about the trash talking, it's a lot of things. Like with that lasagna, like I feel like I talked to the guy a few times, and I'm good at picking the brains of people. And with him, like, I even talked to him away from every media. Just I saw him in the street in Vegas one time, and I talked to him. And it wasn't like a friendly talk, but we talked. And I told him a couple of things that I think, and he told me a couple of things. And then a couple of people were there. And then when it was starting to get a little bit too intense, they thought I don't think it would have never like ended up in anything too bad. But they broke us off, and then they left. But I mean, to me, like when I have different interactions with people, and I kind of like, and I fought before and I want to fight you again and things like that, this becomes a little bit more real, and whatever I say, it has a sense for a lot of reasons. But so I'm not just gonna throw out things just because. So that I wouldn't say it's a beef, because beef is something really real, but I don't like the guy and I really want to fight him, and he has something that I want. So that's enough for me to wanting to talk shit to the guy.
Got it. Now, what is it about him that you don't like?
Well, most of all, I don't like, to be honest, I don't like his style, but that's his stuff. It's all right. Everybody has their own. But I don't like the fact that after the fight, he really changed. He's a double-faced. He's a double-faced guy, and I don't like that at all. And I'm saying that because he changed version of he changed version when he talks to me, and then actually when he talks to the media. So that's what I don't like. You know, most of the time I'm maybe too let's call it honest, or even naive sometimes, because I'll be speaking to the media exactly the same way I speak to friends sometimes. Maybe I'll filter, but like the sense is definitely the same that I'll be talking to somebody that I know without the media.
Yeah.
But he's not, and I don't like that. Like he says one thing to people, and the other in a complete different version to the media. Then there's another factor that plays into trash talking. There is a lot of fighters that are pussies, and they're not taking fights. So they're not taking fights. They're pick and choosing, especially when they have a position to defend, you know, which is understandable. But man, like, I'm the first one to say I'm number 14. I don't feel like I accomplished nothing. Like, it's fucking nothing. If you're in there to be top 15, you better fucking stop doing MMA. If you're there to accomplish to be in the top 15, to me, you're trash. Like, you gotta be in there to be number one. Like, and if you fall short and you end up being top 10, top 15, or not even top 15, I respect that 100 times more than somebody that is like top 13, top 15, and he felt like he's accomplished something. You really didn't accomplish. It's either number one or you're just a guy trying to be number one. That's really how I see it.
So let me ask you, is your strategy now to only take fighters with guys that are ranked above you so that you can rise? Or is it still possible for you to rise by taking a fight with an unranked fighter?
Well, I'm telling you this, like, before they gave me this fight, I was desperately looking for a fight. And I got to the point where I would have taken the fight against anybody. I wanted to fight Kevin Holland. I wanted to fight, like, another guy that, like, I was willing to fight basically everybody. They just give me 6 weeks and I'll be making it. They offered me a fight in too short of a notice, and I said no. But that was not 3 weeks, and I said I just can't make weight. I don't want it to show up and be unprofessional and not make weight.
Yeah.
You give me 6 weeks and I'll do it. So because I'm gonna tell you this, like, I have another, like a very good friend of mine, also a teammate. He's in the same situation, Benil Dariush, and
Oh, I
he's on a
love
really
Benil. I
what?
interviewed him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you probably talked about his situation. His situation is crazy. He cannot find people. He either fought guys in the top 15 that he beat, or a lot of people in lightweight division is also inactive and they're still in the rankings, or the other people are kind of way too ahead, so they're not accepting fights. But he's a killer, and
Yeah.
people go up to him and tell him, "Oh, fight somebody in the top 15." Guess what? Nobody's accepted. So he's actually, but he's going up in the rankings anyway because the UFC is seeing this. He's seeing like that people are just fucking covering their position with everything, like protecting their position with everything,
Yeah.
and not accepting fighter. So he jumped over a lot of guys just because he's active and he's finishing fights, and even though he's not beating rankings. Man, rankings are weird sometimes. You know, it's just a number next to your name. But at the end of the day, even the last guy that he beat, he was very solid, and he's going up. So at the end of the day, I was like, listen, I want to be active. Plus, there is actually also a money component too. I don't want to just be fighting once a year. So there's also that component. Like, you have to kind of make the fight interesting. So I don't know, like that, you know. There's more of a chance that fight happens.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't mind in general. I'm the kind of guy I don't mind. But you see, even with Chris Weidman, I don't know the guy. Like, I never really crossed the line to where, not because it's just stupid. It's just a kid's thing, to cross the line and talk about personal. Like, everything that I said, it was either funny or it was about his career as a fighter, and that I feel like, you know, as a fighter in his division, I can talk shit to, you know, but I would never say anything about him personally.
Right. So you feel like it's fair
to
game.
About Adesanya eventually. Adesanya, I feel like I had interaction with him. I know how his brain on some kind of things works. At least I have an idea. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can talk about those things.
Yeah.
With Chris Weidman, I don't even know him, but you know, I know who he is. I've been following the guy for a long time. But if you see my trash talking to him, it's never been like talking about his personal businesses.
It's not below the belt.
Yeah.
He fought your next opponent, right? Didn't he fight Omari?
Yes, and that's why I feel like when I beat Omari, I should be ranked ahead than Chris Weidman, because Chris Weidman turned me down with. He turned my fight down with everything he could. And I know this for a fact.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just hearing you talk, it makes me feel like you perceive fighting as highly psychological, right?
Very.
It's okay. So percentage wise, physical versus psychological, what would you say?
Well, it's crazy because like, it's like, one combines the other, and it's never just a percentage and a percentage. It's always like, if there's one, the other one is needed to be at the highest level, and if there is one and there is not the other one, you're not a good fighter, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. You cannot just be a psychologist or like even like fucking Freud and have no skills and pretend you're going to go in and beat the guy. Or at the same time, you cannot pretend to be Hulk and go in with no psychology and pretend to beat everybody, because you're going to find the smart guy that is going to outsmart you. And so it's both, especially at the highest level. And
you need the skill set, and then you need to be psychologically strong. And that comes into action the most when you're in the cage, right? Because it's hard. Your cardio, I mean, is important, but no matter how strong your cardio is, like, you get tired in that cage and things hurt, you know? I mean, now that there's no audience, we can kind of hear that, you know? And so it's like the audience gets an opportunity to really get a feel for what you guys are going through in the cage. And, you know, I can't even imagine, to be honest. I cannot imagine being in your position and telling myself, keep going, Jenna, you got this. Because I would see myself, to be completely honest, I would see myself being like, dude, this is not worth it. I want out, you know?
That is different, you know, like we train here and
Yes.
whatever, like we train everywhere to be in there. We want that. I'm like I said before, I'm willing to die to win that fight.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, you know, like like you see this in sport a lot, but one of the most extreme things that it really fascinating to me, it's you know, when like these guys, there's these guys that they want to climb, that they want to in alpinism, where they want to climb like Everest or like Nanga Parbat, or like these massive mountains, where people that don't understand this, they'll be like, what the hell, these guys, because those are like real life cemetery, because there's so many people that die trying to climb those mountains, because it's just crazy. When you go above 8,000 meters, it's just crazy. It's a whole war. But what people don't understand is like why these guys, and the funny thing is that is such a small war, that there's not even fame involved in that. There's not even money involved in that, and people are still willing to put their life at risk just to get the top and come down. And it's just human nature. I feel like when the moment you set yourself to really wanting to do something, it's there's nothing that can stop you. And yeah, I mean, the mental part, you think it's inside, but it really is before the fight week. It comes to the camp. It comes to I always think, like, whenever there's struggles in the camp, I always think this. I'm like, if there is one guy that can deal with pressure or struggle, if there is one guy between the two of us that can deal better with struggle and difficulties throughout the camp, it's definitely me. And this is just part. It's a stretch of my fight, because the fight is just the end of it. But reality, it's a whole fight. Like, you're fighting to get to be there in your best shape ever, mentally and physically. So the fight is just the end of it. If you're able to put it together and be solid with your mind as much as with your physique and shape and everything, but it's really not separated from it.
Okay, I see it. And the way I see the journey is that weight cutting is your final test. Like, you go through fight camp and you're going into it already skilled, but you're refining your toolbox, right? You're collecting more tools along the way. And then if you can make it through weight cut and not be weak up here and be ready to go and still channel your inner animal, then you're in a good position for the fight.
Yeah. And it's about a lot of things, but definitely, like, being bulletproof everywhere and just put it together then and perform. Because at the end of the day, in business in general, but if you don't perform, nobody gives a F to whatever you did in the gym. If you're very good in the gym,
it doesn't matter.
No, nothing. Like in business, if you don't really pull out results, who cares how hard? Who cares how hard you've been working?
You guys are real badasses. You know, in the real world, I don't mean in the real world. I mean, like, you know, in just outside of fighting, if you're working a job, effort counts. You know, you get some credit for trying. But in your sport, in your career, you get nothing. You get shit on. In fact, you know, you have to deal with the whole psychological roller coaster of emotions after losing. So that brings me to my next question. Now, I ask every fighter this, and the funny thing is everyone answers differently. How would you describe what goes on psychologically for you when you win versus when you lose?
Well, to be honest, like, it's not. I mean, I'm a very, very bad loser. Like, just the matter of losing piss me off so bad. But because I'm so competitive.
Yeah.
And I feel like and I feel like what we do is the ultimate competition. It is the ultimate. Like, I didn't just beat you at cards. I beat you at fighting. Like, it means, like, if we were out and we had to fight over something, you would have get that something. And in reality, I could have even been dead. Like, because there would have been a referee stopping you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I see. That's why, like, nobody ever finished me, and why nobody will ever finish me. And I won't even ever lose anymore. But what I'm saying, like, there's, like, you know, like, in all my fights, I really lost by little body, and they're controversial decision and whatever. But what I'm saying is, like, I really care about that, because people think referee sport isn't that. It's fighting, man. Like, it's the ultimate fucking competition. Like, if you beat me at fighting, it means you beat me almost as a human. I that's the way I see it. So
yeah.
But being a high level athlete, I think I from both winning and losing, whenever after the fight is over, I always go back and see what I can improve.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I win. It's obvious that from a loss, though, you cannot work around it. You're gonna be harder on yourself, so you might actually pull out more from a loss. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm always trying to be as hard, even to be as hard as I lost almost on a win. And you have to be good also, like, if you did good things, but you always have to recognize your mistakes, even when you want, even if you win.
You are so focused. Here's what I see about you. You want that belt so bad that you don't give a shit about the small wins along the way. Like, you're like, okay, check. I could have done that better. All right, I did that pretty good, but I'm going to tweak it this time. Instead of going out to the club and popping bottles and being like,
I'll do that too, but I'll do that too, but I'll be back the next day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I
but for
love it. I
losing, like,
mean,
it's just like a very, like, you know, it's a kind of depressing moment for a little bit, but, you know, we're old men with wide shoulders, and then again, like, you know, you lost because you made mistakes, and
so what do you feel on your insides though? Like, I'll give you an example of something I went through. I had to do a very public kind of performance, like hosting thing, and it was on, you know, TV, and I was still kind of new, and I had a hard time breathing before I went out there, and my mind went completely blank, and I couldn't even analyze what was in front of me to comment on it. So I was useless at my job, basically, and I did the best I could, and I got better as the night went. But when I left that night, I drove home with my hands on the steering wheel like this, no music on, and I was just like, I want to die. Like, I wanted to crawl out of my skin because I felt like I failed, you know? And I'm a really hard worker, and I see some similarities. Like, we just want to do really well, and we're hard on ourselves when we don't perform to our standards. So for me, it actually took a few days to just be okay, you know? So for you, like what goes on inside of you after a loss?
oh, it'll be like that too. Like, you'll be like everything feels like I'm the kind of guy that, like, it's almost like unconsciously you want to punish yourself, because you're like, fuck, and everything, like, even friends or people around you, they're trying to cheer you up. You're like,
Doesn't
yeah,
work.
all right, whatever. Like, you know, like, yeah. And, like, it happened actually that one time I was in Vegas, and well, it was with Omari actually. I was very disappointed with my performance, and but everybody from Italy came to see me and everything, and my brother, all my friends, like probably like 20 people, and they were like, they all wanted to go out, and we had a table set up and stuff. I used to do that. I don't do that no more. Like, I don't like, for me, the war ends the day of the fight. You know, they still wanted to go out and party and stuff, and I had to go out. but it's just I'm like that. Like I'm the same. But you know, and it's all right to feel that way. Just at the end of the day, after you're gonna make something out of that loss. Quitting is never an option.
Yeah.
So
it's worse if you quit.
Yeah.
Because then you have to live with the fact that you failed. At least if you continue, you can win. You can almost rewrite history. You know what I mean? Almost. Like you can say, okay, that was a learning experience and it helped me get to where I am today. But if you stop, then
you
it was
can
just
be
a
proud
failure.
of that moment. Like if you rewrite it right, like you can be proud of that moment.
Yeah.
Like when I win again, I'll be proud of that draw. I'll be like, see these 3 years span of time, I made sure that situation that happened 3 years ago, it didn't happen now. So
you act like it was a loss. It was a draw. I mean, you should have seen, did you see Nico's reaction to his draw against Cowboy? Like he was like, yes.
But you see, because I don't know, I'm extreme. Like I'm extreme on those things.
Yeah.
I know what it was going through his mind. For him, he was daring to, and the same thing for him, even worse, because Nico Price is a tough fucker, man. I can tell. I don't know him, but I see him.
Yeah.
And he was a little bit just happy to just be there with Cowboy.
Yes.
Same thing. Cowboy was happy. He was just happy to be there with fucking Conor back then. And look what happened.
I was there. Yeah.
But Cowboy really breaks under pressure completely. Nico Price will go out fucking fighting. But Nico Price could have got that fight. In fact, it wasn't for the eye poke. That I don't like that at all. But he would have won. But he could have. I think he's the fresher fighter. He's the tougher fighter. He could have won that fight. But Cowboy shows up with like up and comers all the time. He has that kind of like I'm the old guy. I'm gonna show you what's up, you know. But with Conor, Cowboy completely checked out just because he felt he already made it being there with Conor. And Nico,
he relaxed.
There was a little bit of similarities, but Nico will go out fighting if anything. He won't break. Like if anything, he'll go out on his shield. And so he definitely gave him a hard fight, but he could have won that fight, and he should have won that fight.
Marvin, you are so good, by the way. Like, I'm really enjoying this interview, and I have so many, like, we're going to get through maybe 30% of the interview I prepared because you're so good at breaking things down and explaining. I'm definitely going to have you back on. But for the rest of it, let me see what I can get out of you. Okay, I do want to talk about some of the guys I've had on the show and get your opinions, because of the ranked fighters in your division, I've had Jack Hermanson, Derek Brunson, Uriah Hall, and Ian Heinisch. And I've stayed in touch with most of them, but, you know, I stay completely neutral. So I'm curious now, like, who do you think is the baddest of them all? I know you're competitive, but if you had to give it to someone,
like I don't think they're not between the toughest in the division. There's, if anybody, I think between these four, maybe Derek Brunson.
Derek Brunson.
Yeah,
okay.
Derek Brunson will be the hardest of these four in terms of toughness, even as a fighter in general.
You're married, I'm guessing, right? Because I see a ring on your finger. No?
Oh no, this is the Aura ring. this is the Aura ring the UFC gives us. It helps like tracking the sleep and stuff.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. Because I was like, hold on, I haven't seen any women on your page.
Yeah.
So are you single?
Yeah, not situation. Let's call it that way. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So can we talk about your DM situation?
Maybe not. I don't know.
I'm just curious. You don't have to tell me about how you react, but I want to know what you receive. I was just talking to Uriah Hall about this, and he was telling me that in his DMs, he'll get women, he'll get men, he gets all kinds of crazy messages. So do you get that stuff too?
Well, my fan base is like way more men than women. But yeah, I'll get some weird messages from girls and transgender and and some weird stuff from men too, but not too much from men, to be honest. Yeah.
Who are you closest to in the UFC?
Who am I close? Well, I mean, my teammates will be Benny Dariush, Kelvin Gastelum, Verdum, all my teammates. Then people that I respect. I mean, Henry, I like. We keep in contact, and Giga Chikadze also is fighting this weekend. Who else? I mean, there's a lot of people, to be honest. Like, I'm not like I can't. I mean, it might seem like I'm very like aggressive. I'm not. Like, I just like you just don't have to give me that weird vibe because I act like with like against aggressiveness. I act aggressive. Like I'll face you right away. Like I'm not gonna just shy away or anything. Like if I see you, like you got something, but you know, at the end of the day, it's a small world. We like, you know, like I don't have the most respect for Ian Heinisch, but I saw him the other day at the PI. What am I gonna do? Like, I just walked by and didn't say anything. I'm gonna tell you this. Like, I'm not gonna be the guy that, oh hey, what's up? After I've been talking shit to you or anything. But at the same time, we're civilians. Like, I cannot just. What am I supposed to do? I'm, you know, like so. It's plus it's a small world, but so I mean, I have a lot of people that I respect in like Cody Garbrandt and like a lot of people from Dominance. Like, I mean, I get along for sure, but a lot.
What is the fight that you're most proud of all of your UFC fights?
Well, proud of. Like, let me think.
This is tough for you. And I relate to you because you're such a perfectionist and you're always thinking like, well, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
Just look at the fights that you've won. And of those, what felt the best?
Well, you know, like with the one with Akhmedov, actually, I really was a kid, man. Like I was just a kid with balls, basically. and I took some good punishment there, and I was able to basically make him quit by the third. So, you know, I came out on top from that situations. So if anything, you know, like I took over the fight. So maybe that, but you know, like and then I'm proud of my of the improvement that I've been doing in my last 2-3 fights. And man, the crazy thing is just in my last year I've improved so much, and people haven't seen that, especially in my stand-up too, because my last fight with Robertson was just so short, and then mostly was grappling.
Yeah.
So
most of your wins are by submission.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you had to choose one fight that you could go back and redo, what would it be? Adesanya.
Oh, Adesanya for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Is that because he's the champ and you want that belt, or is it because of the actual fight? And like let's say title didn't matter.
Well, I dream to regain, like to rebeat, like all the guys that are still relevant by the time but in the next 2-3 years, the people that are still relevant and I had losses with, I want to all like revenge my losses. So there's like Carlos Jr. I don't see him climbing again that much. But I would love to run it back if it makes any sense for me in the future. But I'm gonna do with Omari next fight, so Adesanya is missing. So that is one reason. Plus, I think it would be a very good clash of like of styles, and plus it's one of the few guys that is very aware of the mental game too. And if anything, and you go back and watch my fight back then, he could not fuck with me mentally back then. And I wasn't as where I am now too. If anything, he'll tell you that he didn't like his performance or whatever. If anything, that was because I almost got to his mind. So, but I like it because he's aware of it. He's very aware of it. And there's not many guys there are. Even at the top fight, there's like one of the few guys, like, even I think most of his fights, but at the highest level it is like that. Like all the great fighters are very aware of this. Mm-hmm. And you see with McGregor, you see on their own way with the Diaz brothers, you see with Mayweather, you see with a lot of like all the top fighters are very aware of the mental game too. Tyson Fury, like Lomachenko, a lot. They're all bulletproof on their own way, and people don't even know that. Like they don't even realize. Even fighters that are considered very good, they don't know that, and that's why when they get to that being number one, they lose.
Interesting. Now, Hall of Famer Bas Rutten and 5-time UFC champ Frank Shamrock have both been on the show. This is actually one of Frank Shamrock's championship belts. They talk to their opponents when they fight. Like they're having actual conversations with them. And Frank told me that he learned it from Bas. And Frank was like a beast in the cage, you know?
From who?
Frank Shamrock?
Yeah.
He learned it from Bas Rutten.
Oh, Bas Rutten, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Tough
guy. And he's so, when I interviewed him, I remember him telling me that he didn't know how to do this particular move. And then he went and he was training with these guys and he told them, I don't know. He went home and did the move in front of the mirror for 4 hours, went back the next day. The guys are like, what, are you pulling a prank on us? You said you didn't know, because he was that good. Like he's so strong that he managed to really train himself in 4 hours.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bas Rutten was just he was definitely one out of a specimen of a guy. Cause you just seem like they'll kick him and then he'll kick you and the people just react differently. What was their leg is made of cement or something.
Yeah. You have been awesome. And I really want to have you back on. I'm doing a lot more segments just for YouTube and social, and I'm getting people together for different shows. So you got to be a guest again. We'll get more of your story out of you. I have 50% to get through. So I wish you the best of luck on your fight in December. And I'm going to ask you offline, but if there's anything you want to send me to contribute to the studio, everything behind me is from people who have been on my show, like t-shirt, gloves, shorts, whatever you want.
Oh, yeah.
That would be great.
I'll do that. All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Well, have a wonderful day. Give us your Instagram handle so people know how to find you.
Marvin Vettori on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So easy to find.
Easy peasy. Okay. And guys, I'm the Jenna Ben Show on Instagram and on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more goodies. Thank you for tuning in week after week. You guys keep me going, and I love y'all.
Thank you.